So you're thinking about swapping those gloomy days for, like, the sunny skies of Thailand. Yeah, I get it. That idea of a cheaper lifestyle, experiencing a whole new culture, and don't even get me started on the food. Who can resist that, right? But just like any adventure worth having, it's good to have a plan, a roadmap, so to speak. And that's where we come in, right here on this Deep Dive. We're going to explore what makes Thailand such a magnet for expats. But, and this is crucial, we're also going to look at what those picture-perfect brochures might not tell you.
You hit the nail on the head. There's been a real wave of folks wanting to call Thailand home lately, but it's more than just beaches and cocktails, you know what I mean?
Right.
We're here to give you the lowdown, the real deal, so you can figure out if this is just a fling or, the real deal, a place to put down roots.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the good stuff, the stuff that gets people dreaming. Affordability. That's a big one, especially, say, for those thinking about retirement.
100%. Imagine your retirement savings suddenly going a lot further. We're talking like living comfortably on a third, maybe even a quarter of what you'd spend back home. Think of it, all those extra bucks to explore those ancient temples, sample all the incredible street food, heck, even treat yourself to those luxurious Thai massages. It's a game changer for a lot of people.
Man, that sounds pretty tempting, doesn't it? And it's not just about saving money, it's about the quality of life too, right? The sources we've looked at, they paint a really attractive picture of daily life over there.
It's about embracing a different pace, a more, how do I put it, relaxed way of life. Thai culture is so warm, so welcoming. There's this real focus on community and just enjoying the simple things.
It's interesting you say that because one of the things we came across really emphasized how Thailand is really pushing for a strong middle class, trying to help it grow.
Yeah, that's huge.
Hmm.
I mean, while a lot of Western countries are dealing with a shrinking middle class, cost of living through the roof, Thailand's going the other way.
Mhm.
They're all about opportunity,
Yeah.
making sure people have a good standard of living. It's a huge draw for a lot of expats, for sure.
It's like they found the secret sauce or something, at least for those looking for, well, a different pace and maybe that tight-knit community vibe. But of course, life's not all sunshine and roses, right? And the sources we looked at, they were really upfront about this. If you're serious about Thailand, you got to understand the legal side of things, especially when it comes to property, visas, that sort of thing. It's crucial.
Absolutely, you're not kidding. That's where things can get a little, shall we say, interesting if you're not careful.
Mhm.
For example, a lot of people think, oh, I can just buy land in Thailand, no problem. But that's not quite how it works.
So how does it work? Is owning a piece of paradise totally off the table?
Not necessarily. You see, you can't directly own the land itself, but you've got choices. Condominiums, those you can own outright. Or you could think about a long-term lease, some going as long as 90 years. Imagine that, your family, generations down the line, still enjoying that Thai life.
Wow, 90 years. That's incredible. But I bet figuring all that out requires some serious legal know-how, right?
Oh, you better believe it.
Mm.
I don't want to bore you with legal jargon here, but the big takeaway is this. Before you even think about packing those bags and booking a one-way ticket, talk to an expert, someone who knows the ins and outs of Thai property law. They'll guide you, make sure everything's legit, and help you avoid any nasty surprises down the road.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Always better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to something as important as, well, your future home. Now, for our American listeners out there, we stumbled across something interesting for you guys, a little perk, you could say, thanks to this thing called the Treaty of Amity.
Right. It basically gives American citizens some special advantages when it comes to, setting up businesses in Thailand.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? What kind of businesses are we talking about here?
And this is where it gets interesting. Unlike a lot of places in Southeast Asia, this treaty, it lets Americans have full control over their businesses. Restaurants, shops, consulting firms, you name it. So for anyone with that entrepreneurial spirit, Thailand could be a gold mine, a real chance to make things happen.
So let's recap for a second. We've got the whole affordability factor, a culture that's super welcoming, and now even this unique opportunity to start a business. Starting to sound pretty good, right? But like we said before, got to look at both sides of the coin.
Exactly. Even paradise has its quirks, right?
Mhm.
The sources we've gone through, they do highlight some potential bumps in the road, things to really think about before you make the leap.
Yeah, like there's this cautionary tale, right? Some expats, they got a little ahead of themselves, maybe retired a little too early without having their finances completely sorted, and sadly, they had to pack up and head back home.
Right? It's a good reality check. The cost of living might be lower, but you still got to be smart. Got to budget carefully. Don't just dream about those mango sticky rice sunsets. Plan for them.
Words to live by. And speaking of adjustments, it's not all about finances, is it? Imagine spending years soaking up that laid-back Thai life, and then, bam, you have to readjust to the hustle and bustle back home.
You've just described reverse culture shock. It's a real thing.
So, like, what does that actually look like? What are some of the signs?
It can be different for everyone, but basically it's that feeling of being out of place, almost like you don't belong when you go back to a place you used to call home. Remember how we talked about that slower pace of life in Thailand, how everything's more present-focused? Going back to a world of schedules and deadlines, well, that can be a real shock to the system.
That makes sense. It's like your internal clock got set to island time, and suddenly you're back in the rat race.
Yeah, it's kind of like going from Zen mode back to, well, overdrive, right? Exactly. And, speaking of adjustments, our sources pointed out something else, something that might raise a few eyebrows. It's been a pretty big deal in Thailand lately.
You're talking about them legalizing cannabis, right? Seems like Thailand's really going all in on this, and it's having a ripple effect everything from tourism to, get this, even the real estate market.
It's been fascinating to watch it all unfold, that's for sure. Did you know there are now, get this, over 9,400 registered cannabis dispensaries in Thailand?
Over 9,000.
It's a
Serious.
whole new world, and it's attracting a lot of attention, that's for sure.
I can see why. It definitely piques your curiosity, right? I mean, one of our sources even mentioned a boom in something called cannabis tourism since they changed the laws.
Oh, absolutely. Thailand's become a bit of a, how do you say, a hotspot for folks wanting to, well, enjoy relaxed, legal situation, let's say.
Right, right.
But, and this is important, we got to be careful, look at the whole picture. Our sources also pointed out that this whole thing, it sparked a bit of a debate, even within Thailand itself.
Oh, really? Like, what kind of concerns are people bringing up?
Well, some folks are worried about what it'll mean in the long run, for society as a whole, having cannabis so readily available. They're even comparing it to some of the issues, say, in the U.S., where drug culture has, let's face it, had its ups and downs.
It's a complicated issue, that's for sure. No easy answers. Be interesting to see how it all plays out, both socially and legally, down the line. But let's circle back to our potential expat for a sec. We've covered a lot of ground here. The allure of Thailand, those legal hoops you got to jump through, potential challenges, even these unexpected curveballs like the whole cannabis thing.
We've really painted a pretty detailed picture, wouldn't you say? But at the end of the day, like any big life decision, it boils down to this. Is Thailand the right fit for you, personally?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? As you've been listening to all of this, what's resonated with you? What parts of life in Thailand do they line up with what you want, what you believe in, your vision for your future?
And that brings us to a final point, and it might be the most important one to think about. Thailand, at its heart, it's about slowing down, being present in the moment. It's a world away from that go, go, go mentality so many of us are used to, especially in Western cultures.
So it's not just about the beaches and the pad thai, it's about adapting to a whole new rhythm, a whole new way of life, right?
Exactly. And that adjustment, it can be amazing for some, a real struggle for others. It takes a certain kind of person, someone who's open to embracing a different pace, a different perspective on the world.
It really makes you wonder, how much does our environment really shape what we see as happiness, as fulfillment? It's a fascinating thing to consider.
It really is. And it gets to the heart of what it means to be an expat. It's not just about changing your zip code. It's about maybe changing your values, what's important to you, even how you define success.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? Like, we talk about finding happiness like it's some kind of destination, a place you get to. But what if, and stick with me here, what if it's more about, making sure the place you are, your environment, matches up with what you believe in, what really makes you happy?
That's a really interesting way to look at it, for sure. And it's so important for anyone thinking about making a move like this, picking up, starting over in a whole new place. It's about asking yourself those tough questions. What really matters to me? What's important? Is it climbing that career ladder, living that fast-paced life, being close to family no matter what? Or is it more about finding a different rhythm, feeling more connected to your community, searching for that sense of peace,
Man, those are some big questions, right? And it seems like Thailand, it really gives you a chance, an opportunity to explore those questions, to figure out what the good life really means for you personally.
Right on. And that's what's so cool about this whole deep dive, this exploration. It's not about saying Thailand is good or bad. It's about you figuring out if it's the right fit for you. Does it match your dreams, your goals, what you want life to be?
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, to everyone listening, we're going to leave you with those questions. Weigh those pros and cons, think about what Thailand offers, and see if it aligns with your dreams. Hopefully, this deep dive has given you a lot to chew on, maybe even a fresh perspective on what it means to really live a good life, a fulfilling one.
Absolutely. And remember, sometimes the best journeys, the ones that change everything, they start with a single step. Or maybe in this case, a one-way plane ticket and an open mind.
Well said. Until next time, explorers, keep searching for those amazing adventures.